Good afternoon, good afternoon, folks. So long no see, and welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. But before we get started, the usual disclaimers. Now, I do want to apologize if out of nowhere you see me start scratching my back like I'm a monkey. I apparently, due to making the decision of trying a new feminine hygiene product, said product has something that I'm extremely allergic to. So now I've got a massive rash that goes from the middle part of my back all the way down just a little bit past my tailbone. And I've been medicating it. This is not fun. I bring it up because here's a little fun fact about autism. When I say we're hypersensitive to sensory, I mean it in every single meaning of the word. A lot of us, although not all, have extremely sensitive skin. We have to be incredibly careful with the types of products that we use for us females, as well as clothing, or otherwise, you're going to end up either A, with a really bad, really big rash that ends up as it begins to heal to become incredibly painful, or you get the even more fun one, which is hives, where it basically spreads throughout the entirety of your body, and you end up eating like black beans with sriracha on them for about a good solid week in order to refrain from anything that might inflame said hives. Not very fun, is it, kids? Now, what would be something the JRC would see in that situation? Somebody getting up, they're allergic to one of the products the JRC has forced them to use. They're itching and they're itching for more than 3 seconds. You see where we're going here, right? Okay. To the disclaimers. Before I start talking more about this insane freaking rash on my. Nothing's worse than getting one of these on your tailbone. My last few days have been a whole world of suck that I haven't realized existed since, well, the last time I got hives, anyways. But, anyways, if you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, you're going to find all the pertinent links right there in the description box. Please, in particular, take note of the article written by NeuroClastic, a small non for profit started by autistics for autistics. In it, they interviewed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so called behavior modification program. The Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read that article so much. They threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic refused, so you know the drill. Please read that article, share it on all your social media. Also included in there is NeuroClastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding just in case the JRC ever actually does see through with their threat. Trigger warning 1, we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys. You're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please make sure to go ahead and utilize those headphones. Trigger warning 2, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously, parental supervision is advised. Now, before we jump in this afternoon, I do want to let you guys know we are in an extremely serious, and I cannot overemphasize the word serious situation right now. What's happened is the JRC allies inside our Congress has tacked onto the agricultural bill that they just passed through the subcommittee of the House, a little thing that would take away the FDA's ability in regards to regulation of not just the GED device, but every single medical device in use right now. If this news doesn't scare the ever living shit out of you, then I don't even know what you're doing here. Okay? Think of the implications there. Not just the GED, but all medical devices. Now, I haven't been around medical healthcare circles since before I could walk because, as you know, my mom's been in healthcare for over 40 years. Do you have any idea how bad of an idea this is? Do you have any way of the inconceivable, absolute astronomical numbers of what can go horrifically wrong would go up if that bill passes? It's a sneaky thing they like to do in Congress, where they'll just tack something in at the end of another bill that has absolutely nothing to do with the original bill itself in order to pigeonhole it and get people to pass it before they actually read the damn thing. It is one of the most sneaky and corrupt ways that a lot of these people use to get their bullshit passed. Here's the problem. We autistics are all about the details. If you think you can just tack something onto an agricultural bill and that none of us are even going to notice, then you really do not understand a damn thing about autistic people at all. How we found out about this bill is we have individuals whose expertise is agriculture. So they were watching that bill for what it's supposed to be primarily for. But as we do with all bills, when we're particularly in an election cycle, we're going to go over said bill in detail. We're not just going to skip for the clip notes. We're not neurotypical. We don't get our news from headlines. We get our news from the meat of the thing. You know what I mean? So you can't really slip anything by us. So, as of right now, the action steps are if you go on to the ASAN website, www.asan.org, you're going to find a template. You're going to find two things. It's going to give you the local number for your state representative and their office. And it's also going to give you a script to operate off of if this is something relatively new to you. So if you could go to that and start calling your senators. And before anybody starts blaming Republicans, allow me to be blunt. The Republicans do not have the majority, folks. How this bill is getting pushed through past the subcommittees with barely any review. I hate to bust your bubble, but this is a Democrat Congress and Senate. Okay? Spare me with telling me, well, it must be the Republicans. Because the fact of the matter is, it's not. At least it's not only the Republicans. Okay? When I tell you I don't trust a single one of their bastards and I don't care what their mascot is, this is why. Because neither side actually gives a damn about us. And matter of fact, if you look at this the way it is right now, I get to live with the internal knowledge that my country fucking hates me because of how I was born. And I get to have that reinforced daily, whether it's a repeal of rights that come from my state, or whether it's Congress trying to sneak off protection for the JRC and not just screwing us over, but screwing literally the entirety of the American public health system over. All because they are so goddamn afraid of us and the fact that they can't really control us, that they would rather us to be tortured into conformity than being forced to deal with us. All right, let's get into it, shall we? Where we left off last time, right? 4 ones in a row. Caesar, we who are about to die salute you. Excuse me. Allergies. All right, folks, we've gone over the disclaimer, so let me get into the paragraph here. Sorry about that. With respect to individuals transitioned off the GED, only a small percentage of individuals at JRC have been completely faded off the GED. According to the records submitted by the JRC for 68 residents on whom ESDs have been used, only 19% have been completely faded, and the duration of the ESD use prior to fading ranges is from 3.5 to 23 years. There's a few things, just a few, that I would like to bring up here. Let's start with this. For every single person that they've faded off the device, here's what they're not telling you about those individuals that they've faded off the device. Should that individual down the road break and the mask come off, do you have any idea how fast they'd slap that device back on? We're dealing with a neurotypical medical system, folks. They don't believe in mulligans. Which is kind of ironic because they're trying to make us more neurotypical or at least docile enough for them to be able to control our every goddamn move. All right? So it's incredibly rich that they are sitting like, but you're being faded off the device. Well, you still can't prove longevity of that, can you, Karen? Because even the folks who are completely faded off the device right now, should they, because the underlying issue that caused them to put on the device in the first place has still not been resolved, so eventually when character breaks, and it inevitably does, usually at the worst times humanly fucking possible, if you can tell I speak of experience, then they're going to get immediately slapped back onto that device. Which means, once again, we are proving that this device is not effective. It doesn't condition anything other than fear of authority, fear of torture, and post traumatic distress disorder, anxiety disorder. The list goes on, right? So you can sit there and try to say, but they've been faded, and obviously it means it's long term. That loses its entire own argument when you realize that they would still slap that device back on. And how we know this is if you remember that particular case in regards to prank call where two boys who had been faded 2 and 3 years respectively off the device one night was pulled out of their beds due to a prank call, strapped to a 4-point board, and shocked over 71 times each, with no one even questioning it. So you have to argue, what is the point of fading the device if you're only going to slap it on later because you still refuse to deal with the underlying issue causing the behavior in the first place? It doesn't. There's no longevity there. The only type of longevity there is just how long an autistic can go without breaking character, about breaking their mask, the persona we create to have to go out there and deal with you people and survive. There's no longevity there. Nor are any of these people dealing in reality with the fact that none of these bad parts, quote unquote, of our diagnosis are going to go away entirely. And anybody who tries to tell you different is trying to sell you something. Red flag, scammer alert. Right? Now, let's continue where we left off. According to the summary information for the 189 residents on whom the ESDs have been used since 2000, which is even less detailed than the 68 resident records, only 58, 31% had been completely faded off the GED device at least 2 weeks before discharge from JRC. In other words, for those folks that are stuck on the device, only 31% got taken off the device completely before they left that hellhole. I would like to take a moment of silence to acknowledge the badassery that it takes to hold a mask on convincingly, nonstop, without slipping up once. That is some superhero shit. Even I can only hold on to my character without dropping my mask. If I was going in a nonstop, like if it's with conference mode, I think the record is about 3 days. And then comes the crash, right? So, what these guys managed to accomplish to get off the torture device is nothing short of miraculous in my eyes. I'm just saying. And also, the numbers don't work in the JRC's favor, does it? That's what the FDA is pointing out here. The fact of the matter is, the majority of the folks put on that device are never faded off of it. And that pretty much kind of covers it for right there. We're going to go ahead and close out, and I'll see you again here in a few minutes. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few we do tend to get removed from time to time. So, folks, if you could, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to utilize those comments. I appreciate your time this afternoon. And as always, folks, we here at Smelling Tea do hope you have a good one. I'll see you again in a few minutes. Bye-bye, everyone.